Welcome everybody to the War and Peace Baseball Podcast. I'm here today with Farbode Markazi and Alex Rudy, and a new member today, welcoming Ray Estrada. Say hi, Ray.
Hello, thanks for letting me jump on this little project of yours.
Yeah, and you're the only one that gets to say hi because you're special. The other guys don't get to say hi. And
I'm special.
Yeah, I'm Alex Uwe, and let's go ahead and get right into it. We are in early February, getting ready for spring training and all that. Really, the offseason is just winding down, but a few deals to talk about still. Let's start with Mike Napoli. Recently signed with the Texas Rangers on a one-year deal, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 1 year, $3 million.
No, that was Chris Carter.
That was Carter. You're right. How much was it?
Well, yeah, Chris Carter also signed a one-year deal with the Yankees for $3 million.
I know we've talked about this, but I still don't understand how abrupt the market has gone, how abruptly poor the market has gone for power hitters. Because Carter was the National League home run leader, and Napoli had his career high in homers. I don't know how Chris Carter makes $3 million in the free agency. That just doesn't work out.
Because he strikes out 200 times a year.
But he
led the league in
41 home runs.
It's easy to see the reasons why he's not
give
getting
and
paid,
take.
But it's also really baffling that you see a number like that. Leads the National League in home runs and gets paid virtually nothing.
I mean, regardless of how much someone strikes out, $3 million for 42 home runs is
I was very
a
surprised.
good bargain.
Exactly.
I still was surprised.
I'm not saying Chris Carter deserves $100 million. I'm just saying $3 million for 42 home runs. Absolutely. Last year, I think he would have made more. I just don't understand the market right now.
Yeah, well, you think about necessity for these teams. There's no team out there that's going to start Chris Carter every day. The Brewers did last year, and even they decided that's not good for us. And when the Brewers are saying, we can't start you every day because you're a negative defensive player who strikes out too many times and doesn't.
He was considering going overseas because that's how poor the market was for him.
Yeah, and I mean, not just for him, for these very specialized power hitters in general. This guy is not going to play much against righties at all on this Yankee team. He's probably going to platoon with Greg Bird most of the time.
Matt Holliday.
And Holliday. I think Holliday will see. We've seen what Girardi does with the DH slot. There's no DH for the Yankees. It's a lot of shared time. Last year,
I would say, when do you expect Bird to play the majority of the innings at first? Well,
yeah, I would, for sure.
Carter and Holliday platoon at DH. I don't know if Holliday splits.
Value there, though.
I don't think Holliday can play the outfield anymore. That's my...
Holiday's going to be DH.
Yeah, but, he doesn't have... Girardi doesn't use the DH slot like most other teams do. A lot of guys will see time at DH. Carter will see time at DH. But he really doesn't... He's not going to be worth... I mean, he's worth $3 million for this team, obviously, but he is exactly that. He's a backup player. He's a platoon power hitter, basically. That's all he is. He has no defensive value. He has no... there's very little value to extract from a guy like this. And the fact that you can throw him out on the field and he'll hit you 40-some home runs, but the negatives are very apparent now with advanced metrics and stuff, and that's just not worth it. Napoli is a little bit different, though. Napoli is a much better all-around player than Chris Carter, and he really.
I was very surprised Napoli lasted this long in the market.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that. It's I don't know. It's just I'm like I said, I'm very confused by this offseason. The offseason was just strange. In total, Mark Trumbo got 30. Or I don't know how much he got.
He got $33 million, I believe.
And Encarnacion got 60.
I think it's clear that, in general, the big power, high strikeout, low defensive players who, let's say, 10 years ago were at the top, or maybe, probably more 15, but you could say 10, I would say, who are at the top of the game are really becoming just less and less valued. As
teams are starting to pay more for athleticism and
right.
Jason Hayward of last year.
Right.
He paid for his athleticism, his defense, his speed, and hoped that he would bat over 280.
it seems like
That didn't work out too well. But
players who can do
Yeah.
more things good are becoming more valuable than players who can do one thing extremely well, if that makes sense.
Oh, I get that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's hard to extract value from these players that can't contribute in certain parts of the game. Like, it's harder to assign a certain dollar amount to a player when he is not right for an everyday job. If he needs to be platooned, or if he can't hit against righties, or if he can't play the field, and there's injury concerns.
Right. But
There's
I
a lot of
think-
factors.
I agree 100%, but I think what makes this so, I think, interesting and fascinating to us as fans is that it seems like a very sudden change. So even though this general consensus has been held for a long time by, the more hardcore fans and many journalists, as we've stated before, the teams seem to have ignored, not ignored, but felt that these type of players were more valuable than players, people outside the front office believed. And this season, for whatever reason, a clear shift in policy has been made. I'm sure, like, you could find subtle trends leading up to this point.
Yeah.
But
And I'm not saying like I'm like completely
I mean, like-
confused by the market. I'm just I get the reasoning behind it, but I'm just saying normally you would think that guys who hit 34 home runs or who hit 42 would get paid more than these two did.
Yeah, and to
Sorry if I
comment on
interrupt you.
the whole defense thing. Defense is unquestionably much more replaceable than finding premium offense, premium power. That remains, but
Agreed.
we've seen the consequences of sacrificing defense, and that's the biggest change. If you can get a replacement level defender that'll hit you, that can produce at that same level that some of these power hitters are, then those are your top tier players. Those are the guys you're seeing. It's hard because a lot of these examples of power hitters that I can think of are also premium defenders, but for the most part, defensive negatives really do hurt. Let's move on though. There's been a lot of discussion in Major League Baseball administration about potential changes to rules and pace of play and things of that nature. One of them that was just announced today is they will potentially be implementing a new rule in rookie ball, the lowest minor league level, where in extra innings, every inning will start with a runner on second base, which is, when you first hear it, that's like, wait, starting with a runner on base, that's insane.
It's kind of like, at first glance, it's intriguing, I'll say that, but I said this earlier to you guys today. This is something that since Rob Manfred took over as commissioner, Major League Baseball has been going for, bringing the average fan more into the game, because of profit, obviously, and trying to implement rules for pace of play and that stuff. And we've seen rules put in, and some of the rules I think have worked perfectly. Some of the rules I think could use some adjustment, if you could say that. But I think I said this earlier. If you're gonna make a rule, please make it where in an area where the sport needs it, not in an area where the rule just sounds like it's a video game rule. But
it's not a video game rule; it's a pony ball rule, is what it is.
It's just
that's what I would
stupid.
agree.
It's
the game's adjusting to it's instead of high school and Little League taking MLB rules and adjusting them to fit their needs. It seems like for some reason this current MLB front office regime wants to adapt those rules into the MLB game. I think it's very misguided and bizarre, and they really seem hell-bent on making the MLB something it's not. And they refuse to acknowledge that, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Uwe said this earlier. A bloop hit could win the game.
Both teams technically get the chance to do that, but yes.
I understand that, but still, it's just...
Yeah, you're right.
That rule,
I agree.
It's bizarre.
It's absurd.
There's no change in the competitive balance, which really, it pisses me off that they feel the need to just take something completely unnecessary and throw it in there just for the sake of saving time in those rare instances where teams get locked in an extra innings battle that goes, past like 12 innings, 13 innings, or like even farther than that. And in the article that was posted, I think on like Yahoo Sports or whatever, I think Joe Torre said something along the lines of, nobody wants to sit there and watch an 18-inning game happen. And he says that like 18-inning games happen all the time. And like this is such a small issue. Like it's such a rare
like
occurrence,
area...
but you just completely changed the scape of the game just based on that one specific situation, and then you just completely throw every other element to that in the trash.
It's like they're trying to attack the pace of play.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. It's
like they're trying to attack the pace of. It's like they're trying to attack the pace of play, but like from the side, not like direct. It's like an area that if it's not broken, why are you trying to fix it? It's not necessary.
I like that the MLB is open to change and willing to try out new ideas. I appreciate that. I think the entire implication of the video review has been very well done. I understand the pitch clock, even though as a old man curmudgeon type of fan, once they get off my lawn, that's not something I approve of. But I understand it. It doesn't really make a big difference. Honestly, it's fine. But at the same time, you and like we were talking about the other day, like expanding the strike zone. I think a little like it was like a small change, shrinking it.
Raising it actually specifically.
Raising it, and I think that's what it is. My mistake. And then I think there was another change we were discussing, but that was pretty minor. I think the intentional walk, which I personally am very against.
I'm against it,
but it doesn't really change things that much. I mean, I think it's just so pointless.
I think it takes out part of the human factor.
Yeah, I think the offense should have the opportunity to take advantage of a mistaken intentional walk, whether it's a pass ball or a misplaced pitch that the hitter can take advantage of. I believe that that's part of the game.
Okay, even if it's like the 1 in a million.
Yeah, I agree. But like, there comes a point where you're just fiddling with the game for the sake of fiddling it and trying to make something that's not. And as much as I like progressivism, especially in a sport like baseball, which is famous for its conservatism, they really should be focusing on keeping their current fan base, which is a very large amount of diehards who love baseball the way it is, and stop trying to attract fans who they think they're going to get, who are simply never going to be able to fully enjoy baseball for us. Because I really think baseball is a sport that very few people just suddenly become fans of. Most baseball fans, at least that I know, have been baseball fans their entire life. They've been baseball fans since birth. Baseball is just a hardcore fan sport. That's part of its charm. That's part of what makes it love it. It doesn't have to be the NFL. It doesn't have to be the NBA. It can just be what it is, and we can love it for what it is.
I completely agree. And there's one more thing that you said that I just want to say again. I love how how adaptable and how open baseball is to change. But there's some parts that, like I said, are not. Change isn't necessary, and the runner on second base in extra innings is one of the.
Yeah, you can't just go throwing base runners on the bases when you want the game to speed up. That's destroying like a very integral part of the game.
Billy Beane would love that.
I mean, most teams would love that. I'm sure, from their own perspective. But Billy Beane. Sure. Teams with great bullpens would love that, I'm sure. It's just completely uncalled for. There's no reasoning behind it that makes any sense.
It doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like an inherent solution to any
It seems
problem.
like they're antsy to make some sort of change, to make some sort of don't mess with anything
if it's
unless
not broken, don't fix it.
It does not appear
clear motive.
well thought out.
Yeah, to me, it seems like they're trying to shave the pace of play down to 2 hours, which is impossible for Major League Baseball. And they're really desperate to get changes to get anywhere near that, and they're not good changes.
That's a good word. They do seem very desperate to just be like, yo, hey, we did this.
Yeah, literally the only way the game will be more interesting is if you make batters swing at every pitch. That's the only thing I can think of, which is obviously completely ridiculous, but there's no way that Major League Baseball is going to be able to cut down on this rule in the way they're going about it now, is just shaving seconds off the game. That's especially in this case. Like, I didn't care about the pitch clock that much. I wasn't that opinionated about it. I'm not exactly for it. I like the fact that they use it in the minors to change, like, to build habits and stuff to make pitchers learn to work quicker. I don't necessarily like it in the major leagues, but when you're changing a fundamental part of baseball where you hit the ball and you get on base and you round the bases and then you score, you don't start on the bases and then get a chance to.
And one
knock
of
in a
the
free
things
runner,
is that it's on second base. Like, that's scoring position already. It's first base would be. I'd be against the rule to have it be on first base too. It's just not part of baseball. It's you work to get those base runners. You don't need to have a free base runner all of a sudden that you're in the 10th inning.
Yeah, long story short, Major League Baseball shouldn't change anything. I don't think they're going to end up changing anything. I think this experiment's going to go poorly, personally.
Yeah, I think these new rules, too, they're too close to spring training to get them approved. And I think the longer
it's
people
going to
think about
start, it's going to happen in rookie ball this year, though, right?
Oh, yeah,
No,
you're
I
right.
think
The base
that's
rule.
not even confirmed yet, I don't think.
Really?
Uh,
I haven't read, like, too far into it. I just know, like, the basis.
I know it was a proposal. I don't know if it's actually going to be implemented into rookie ball.
I know the intentional
It's
walk
not
in the
process.
strike zone is a proposal, but I think they can implement that rookie ball measure pretty quick.
I mean, they can, obviously. I think it was, like, it's not difficult to implement something into rookie ball, I'm sure. This was never going to happen this season, by the way. We make it sound like it was imminent, but it's really not. I'm trying to look that up. But, yeah, unless any of you guys have anything else to add, we can start talking about the World Baseball Classic, because I am definitely pretty excited to watch some of that.
I am
so hyped.
super excited. I got tickets, so I am ready for the World Baseball Classic.
Do you know what teams you get to see play, or is it just like certain?
So I have the second round tickets here at Petco. It's going to come from the U.S. in the Dominicans pool. Nobody else, Canada
nice.
or Colombia is not going to come out of that pool. And then you got the other pools for Mexico. It's Mexico, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, and Italy, which has some interesting players on it. So that'll be fun, and it'll be top two from those two pools will meet at Petco. Week 9 for us, so the week 4 our finals.
Yeah, I don't know the exact start date, but the rosters were just announced today, which is
Don't let American Dog.
Fuck. Okay. Let's see. Let's take a look. I'm looking at the article right now to see.
I would say, I think I kind of read through the entire rosters earlier today. I would say the powerhouses are 100% the United States and the Dominican Republic, which are in the same pool. I would be shocked if one of them, if not both, aren't in the final and don't win it. They are truly stacked. The U.S. has 18 All-Stars and 2 former MVPs. I don't know the Dominican Republic is on the same level, and I would say just in terms of solid teams, I'd say Puerto Rico, Venezuela should do very well, as well as I think Colombia could surprise some people.
Yeah.
And there's some scattered, very interesting players on the Netherlands, Israel, Italy, Mexico as well. All those teams
and then you can never count out Japan in
of
Baseball
course.
Classic.
Japan, South Korea, even though neither of the teams, I think both they have combined 2 major league players.
Yeah.
I feel like we've listed a lot of the countries right there.
Dude,
They both play great.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's part of the beauty. Baseball is a very underrated sport, I would say, actually.
in all honesty, I can go through all of this analysis too. I'm just excited for baseball. I'm just
I don't
excited.
think people realize that.
I love
the World Cup, FIFA. I mean, the World Baseball Classic is the most competitive sports international series. There's a lot of parity. Like the FIBA, for basketball, may be more popular. But
You said other than the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
FIBA. Of course, the World Cup is a different level. It's incomparable. But, FIBA is arguably is probably a little bit more popular. At least in the United States, it is. Yet, that's just the U.S. That's just a tournament for who's going to lose the U.S. in the finals. The World Baseball Classic, I'm really excited it's back because, yes, this specific year the U.S. has an incredible team, but in years past, they've been disappointing. I think Japan's won every single time before.
Japan won the first two. Dominicans are defending.
Okay, my mistake. So
Yeah.
So one thing I just
very
love,
interesting.
I love about watching the World Baseball Classic is that, so in Major League Baseball, you see the passion that these guys have to play and represent their team. It's taken to a whole nother level. They're playing the sport they love to represent their country, and it's just a lot of fun baseball to watch, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, the major league players on these teams are not playing with the same competitive fire, by any means as they do during the season.
Baseball.
Yeah.
I'm excited for baseball. It's been since
That's true.
The last time we watched baseball was when the Cubs won the World Series, and that's pretty miraculous. But still, last time we watched baseball was that, and I'm very excited to watch competitive baseball. You could have
been. You were free to watch the Australian League over the winter. If you were that
like
desperate.
I said, I'm very excited to watch competitive baseball.
Damn.
Australia does have a team in the World Baseball Classic. They're supposed to be halfway decent.
I think they're better than you think. You don't give them enough credit.
Yeah,
they're passionate for the game.
I hate Australia. I'm just saying I don't have time. I'd rather just watch these guys play. Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you were making anything better there. Yeah. I mean, do you want to talk about the rosters at all?
I think Dominican Republic and United States are probably worth mentioned.
Yeah.
There's some other players maybe scattered throughout that we can also.
Venezuela is probably the third best team. I would
Venezuela.
Say all on the same side of the bracket.
Yeah. They have Miguel Cabrera, of course. Alcides Escobar, Victor Martinez, Yanguris Solarte, Carlos Gonzalez, André Enciarte, Dubler, Martin Prado, Bruce Rondon, Hector Rondon, K-Rod, I believe, Yusmeir Petit. So they have Ulis Chacha, and they don't have, I would say, the same level of team. Definitely offensive.
Did you mention Jose Altuve?
I was going to say...
No, I didn't see that even.
He's another big one.
Jose Altuve.
And Salvador Perez. I don't know if you said Salvador.
King Felix, Salvador Perez. They got a team.
They're very solid, without a doubt.
I want to take a moment and acknowledge the fact that Rudy did not mispronounce any of those names. So, good job, Rudy.
First time for everything.
That's got to be first.
I would say Puerto Rico is pretty interesting, too. I mean,
Puerto Rico won the Dominican...
Carlos Correa.
Won the Dominican series recently.
It's the Caribbean series.
Caribbean series. But yeah, they won that literally yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is news.
They have Hector Santiago, Giovanni Soto.
The great Giovanni Soto.
Yeah.
Carlos Correa, Francisco Lindor, Carlos Beltran. They have
I like how you're saying all these names with with the same exact
Okay,
enthusiasm.
obviously,
Carlos Correa is a lot better than all those other names than you.
Obviously, Francisco Lindor might be better than.
I didn't even notice you say Francisco Lindor because
I didn't notice.
Maybe just go through, but I mean, they also have an interesting.
They have a really good mix of veteran leadership with Yachty alone, and then you add in Beltran, and then you throw in Lindor and Correa up the middle. And,
I mean, I'm really excited to watch the Netherlands because they
have all middle infielders.
Middle infielders. They have Bogarts, Gregorius, Profar, Scope, Andrelton Simmons. I mean, it's a very
and then Kenley Jansen shut the door.
And they have Jair Jurgens is apparently playing for them. Who knows where that guy's been for 3 years. One of the many I think he was an All-Star in 2011. Now I don't think he plays professional baseball.
That's former All-Star Jair Jurgens' team.
Yeah, so. I mean, Canada has Eric Gagne playing and Ryan Dempster. That's cool.
Amazing.
I'm
That's
really
my
upset
favorite
that
part.
Russell Martin pulled
out
of the baseball class.
Russell Martin pulled out.
He was going to play shortstop
too.
Because
he had a surgery.
Yeah,
but he was going to play shortstop.
I know.
And then, I'm just excited to watch Dempster pitch and Gagne.
I want to see Gagne be the exclusive closer. Just we don't care who else we have in our bullpen.
You should have Gagne play shortstop.
Yes.
At this point, why not?
Bruce Chen's pitching for China, appeally.
Bruce Chen got drafted in a fantasy league of mine last year.
Fantasy league last year.
That was not a good draft.
And it wasn't the last pick of the draft.
No,
it was
I don't even think it was the last round.
It was it was like mid-round. It was so funny. Ben Hansen, what a guy.
Bruce Chen, Wei-Yin Chen, same thing, right? Man, that's okay.
I mean, Colombia has Jose Quintana and Julio Teheran pitching for them. I would say if they are on point, that could be a very dangerous matchup. I'm not sure how exactly the games work in terms of series, but I think each team plays each other once,
it's a round robin, and then there's a possible tiebreaker at the end.
Right, so that could be 2 wins for them right there, even though they're they're in the U.S. and Dominican's pool. Just you have to have great games.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Johnny Giavotella play for Italy. He's going to carry them to the
Italy,
playoffs.
is surprisingly
Chris Colbello.
There's a lot of talent. Surprisingly, they have Cervelli for a team that they have a lot of.
I think when Cervelli's the pinnacle of your talent, I think your team's still not in the top tier.
I mean, they're not. They're nowhere near They're not going to compete for anything. But I mean, they have a solid amount of major leaguers for a country not known for baseball. Pat Venditti, Kristen.
Do they have anybody from Italy on their team of note? I think they're all just Italian Americans.
I believe they have one guy. Alex Liddy, who plays in Mexico.
He played in the minor leagues and for Seattle.
Yeah, I remember hearing that name.
Alex Liddy played for Seattle.
He's probably a player to be named later or something.
That's the only official guy that I can see that's been named to the roster.
All right, anyway, so just, right here, right now, who do you think is going to take home the title this year in the World Baseball Classic? What team?
I would go to the Dominican Republic. But the U.S. is a very,
I don't think you can bet against the DR.
The DR's team is just absurd.
Yeah, the Dominican team is the most well-balanced between pitching, defense, and offense.
I mean, I can't believe I'm the one that's going against the grain here, saying the United States, I think, has the best.
The U.S.
never
performs well in this tournament.
Yeah,
it's just a fact.
But
they
didn't have the roster they have this year. But I'm just questioning the motivation.
I would agree.
There's motivation for any of these guys. They're major league players. They're not gonna
but
risk their season.
The Dominican is a baseball first country.
It's a lot of pride for them to win. Actually, yeah. I think you're underestimating that. For these countries that are for the country like the Dominican Republic especially, baseball is everything to them. This is their World Cup. So I would actually disagree with you. I think these guys have a lot of national pride on the line, and I think it actually does matter for these guys in the countries outside the U.S. I think you saw in Japan, honestly, for the previous World Baseball Classics as well. Those guys definitely took it very seriously every time. That's why they, at the time when they had many major league players, they were unstoppable.
Either way, it's baseball, and it's back, and we're excited.
Yeah. I will say if Andrew Miller pitches every inning for the United States, then there's no chance they lose.
That's fair.
I think Terry Francona would have a problem with that.
What if Marcelo Colon pitches every inning for the Dominican Republic? And
I don't think the Braves would have a problem with that. He's old.
He's old?
But Terry not old. He is old. Terry Francona would have a problem with Miller pitching every inning, though.
Miller might have to pitch a lot, though, because the starters for the U.S. didn't have the best years.
The starters for Canada include Ryan Dempster, and then they have Eric.
We're not talking about Canada as a threat. We're talking about the U.S. making a run.
If we're talking about starters, though, damn.
All right. Anyway, World Baseball Classic. Looking forward to it. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about fantasy baseball. I recently released my top 250 fantasy rankings. That's the top 250, fantasy players based on ESPN Standard Leagues. So yeah, if you want, go check that out. I'll have the link for that somewhere that you can access it. It's also on our website. And if you guys want to use that as kind of like a baseline to talk about the upcoming fantasy season, we can do that. I'm definitely in the right gear to talk about fantasy baseball, but obviously the best place to start is the top. The top tier is pretty clear. The way it's ranked was, it's always a little bit tricky, but I think this year the top 10 anyways is pretty solidified. Do you guys have the rankings open right now?
I'm going to them right now.
I'm getting it up.
Okay. give you
We're
a moment
prepared
to
podcast.
do that.
So much prep went into this.
Very prepared.
We are the most prepared podcast. All right.
There's no issues with
At least for
any of
January.
our Skypes.
Yo, at least for
At
January.
least Skype is working today.
But you said.
I just
But-
jinxed us very badly, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
about
you-
to drop the call watch.
No, Ui's just gonna drop.
Well, just in case the call drops, thank you all for joining us, even though we're like halfway through the show right now. All right. Yeah. Anyway, I guess I'll just start talking about the very tippy top of my list a little bit. I have Mike Trout and Chris Bryant at the very top 2 slots. Not a lot of surprise there. And that's
Who?
followed by Altuve, Betts, and wait, shoot, my thing just closed. God damn it. I think I
You
have
jinxed yourself.
Goldschmidt.
Very good.
Damn it. I think I have Goldschmidt slotted 5, though. We are so prepared right now. This is unbelievable.
Hey, it's your list. I mean,
It is my list,
Yeah.
and I should know it like the back of my hand.
And you
But-
didn't.
You just
So-
updated it today too, so
Yeah, technically. Well, it was yesterday.
well, for us it's today still.
Well, all right. Hey, I just noticed that you posted a new article.
Yeah.
Go check out Ray's article on the Dodgers.
I
He has
posted my
Corey
Dodgers
Seager in his
review.
thumbnail. That means it's a great article.
it's a nice stall for
I
time.
approve.
Hey, you know what's cool about this article though? There's no Jose Altuve in it.
That's I
like-
mean,
I know.
you can't get enough Jose Altuve.
Like
in thumbnails.
mine and okay, I didn't realize your article had Jose Altuve on it. Like
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
100%.
You put
your
Jose
fault.
Altuve on your 250 one too.
What do you mean? It's the same thing. I just edited the
It's the
list.
same
It's the
250.
same
I
link
just
and
didn't read
everything.
it.
It updated and now it's like at the top of the
All right,
list.
whatever. I got this on my phone now, and I was
I
right. I do
can't
have
see
Paul
the
Goldschmidt as
computer.
number 5. Anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and say the top
Trey
10 real
Turner
quick.
number 12.
Object if you must. Yeah.
Why is Trey Turner over Bryce Harper?
Because Trey Turner is much more.
Yeah, that's kind
optimal
of
for
interesting.
fantasy
Honestly,
baseball. For fantasy
Wow.
baseball, this
But
guy,
Trey
this
Turner's
guy
over
can
Corey
contribute.
Seager too.
you're like,
Can-
so do you only
He
base
will
this
contribute
list
at
off
least
last
twice
season?
as many stolen bases as Harper.
You will
and-
get a lot of people fighting you about this.
So only
Actually, not as
season-
many as you'd think. A lot of people agree that Turner, or a lot of people are, agreeing that Turner is too high, but not a lot of people have said that having Turner above Harper is crazy.
No, I'm talking about like the whole list.
The whole
Um,
list. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for controversy. I love answering people's
love
questions. I
feedback.
love raising questions about certain players that you wouldn't, think about on certain rankings, and it's fun to do that. Trey Turner at number 12, like, he has a lot more security than a lot of people think. He's like, oh, this guy played like 20 games last year. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but this guy,
I feel like Giancarlo is really hard to put in like in a ranking because you know he could be so much higher, but injuries.
Exactly.
So-
I mean, that's
So for-
exactly why. That's the only
Yeah,
reason
but
he's down there.
it's such a shame because I just want a full year out of that kid, that guy, not kid. Don't beat me up. Who else? I'm just going down your list.
You're kind of just looking at the players I've actually
No.
written about in the article.
I'm wondering, did you purposely put both Chris Davises right next to each other?
No,
At 60
that is not.
68.
I mean, obviously I did, but they're
What?
very. I think last season you saw all the comparisons and how similar they'd been in the last calendar year stats wise.
Yeah, no, they were
Yeah.
They
very.
really
similar.
are very similar players.
Random little fact, going back to World Baseball Classic, Chris Davis to the A's is playing for Mexico.
I saw that.
What?
I,
I would not have
I
guessed
was
that.
like,
it's like some
one of
really
the widest
random
names
guy.
ever, and he's playing for Mexico.
I think Gerald Laird is playing for Mexico as well.
Dude,
He's at least Mexican. Sergio Romo is American, but he's Mexican, so like it makes sense.
Sergio
That's
Romo
a-
signed with somebody. He signed with the Dodgers.
The
He's on
Dodgers.
Yeah, he's in my
signed
article.
with the
bet that's in
Dodgers,
your
and then it
article.
was pulled
Yeah.
away, and then he signed.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, with this list, I guess I'll talk about a few players that I was asked about. Some like very early feedback regarding this. AJ Pollock is like right around number 50, even though he could easily be in the top 3 rounds if he was a little more reliable health-wise. And the same can be said for a lot of these players.
Yeah. Well,
This could be a stupid question, but so I'm looking at some of the guys that are lower on your list. Do you think if you were doing this next year, like Dansby Swanson as 218, where like how much higher do you think he can go? Like
what's his ceiling? Like best case scenario.
Not necessarily like him, not him putting up like video game like numbers like Trout or you know I'm
You want to know
just
like
saying,
best case scenario
a realistic projection for Dansby. Like where would he be next year? Because I see him at 218.
Well,
and
realistically, he can
intriguing.
be. Like realistically, he's a top prospect. He can be in the top 100. He does have enough of a. The power is going to be the only really limiting factor. But if he runs enough, he posts a 300 average at least, then he can definitely be in that conversation for the top 100. I think it's reasonable to put him like maybe 20, 30 spots higher at least. Like you get him into the top 200, but it's hard to say for prospects specifically because we know how they've been scouted, and it's all geared towards their major league performance. Like all their tools valued equally. And you see Dansby as a top prospect, he might not necessarily be a top fantasy prospect, which is the separator there. Trey Turner is definitely a top fantasy prospect, or he was a top fantasy prospect by every measure. Like the speed especially is one of the biggest factors, and he did show a lot more power potential than I thought he would have in his short time last season, which is very encouraging. But his basketball skills are insane. Like I don't see the same type of regression for Trey Turner that I can make you the case for some other lower down like players.
I'm also interested.
I have a lot of
in
young
seeing,
players in the last 50 on my list.
I think Jared Dyson's ranking is pretty interesting when you look at the players surrounding him. Is that
Gerard?
Yeah, Gerard, dude.
It's Gerard Dyson.
Gerard's a pretty.
Get it right.
You'll learn I regularly mispronounce names.
I found that out when they made that comment earlier.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that is just like, speed in fantasy baseball does have a lot of potential to like boost a lot of these players a lot higher than you'd think, just if you were making an actual like top 250 players in the MLB rankings. Gerard Dyson is not. He might not even be he's not an everyday player. How could he be in the top 250? Well, the fact is, when he does play, he's going to run all the freaking time.
Yeah.
He stole 30 bases last year.
I've spent like most of the time looking at this list at the bottom half just to see because these guys are the ones that intrigue me. We know what the top 5, top 10 will produce around, but I'm spending time around the lower half, and I'm just seeing this guy could be a bounce back candidate. He could be in the top 100 next year. Well, this guy's probably going to drop down even further. It's like Sonny Gray. I think he could, if he figures his shit out, he could be top 100 again next
got
year.
him at 151.
There's some of these guys. It's I think it's Steven Matz. We talked about it. If he has a healthy good year, he will not be at 185 next year.
Yeah, and I actually I got a question about that ranking. Him and Joe Ross. I got a question about both of them. Joe Ross I have ranked probably 30 spots higher than Steven Matz, and just straight up ask what is your reasoning behind that? Because the numbers don't suggest any huge separation between those two players. They're both young. They both have some injury risk, and my only answer is that just based on gut instinct, Steven Matt's injury scares me more. There's a lot of you try to rank with as little personal opinion, gut
bias.
feeling, instinct, as possible. I mean, yeah, I guess it's not exactly bias. It's more of just your own intuition. It's not necessarily based on any bias. It's just your intuition, and you don't want to rank like that, but you definitely do have to do that. You do it when you draft, when you're actually drafting live. If you're not looking at any rankings, you look at what's available and you say, who do I think I should pick? There's no perfect algorithm for ranking all these players. It's easier to do to get them into their tiers, to get them into the right level, and separate them that way. But when you're talking about getting down to this player versus this player, it's hard to make. It's easy to make a case either direction. It's hard to make a very definitive case for a lot of these guys in this list. But yeah, I mean, if you guys want to discuss any other players, if
It's
not,
a harder question for you.
okay.
Who in the top 5 do you see dropping down a lot low? The top
Nobody.
10. Do you see no one, like, not a lot lower, but like to like top 30?
This is a
instead of-
really strong class of players that like
Do you
the
see
top
anyone
10
in like the
is
top?
incredibly strong.
Charlie Blackmon, number 13.
Charlie
Wow.
Blackmon has been underrated for a few years now, and he still,
As
of course, feels
as long as he stays in Colorado, he's
Oh, I'm
gonna
not
produce
disagreeing
power
with
numbers.
you. I'm just saying.
I would,
wow,
I would say like
high.
Donaldson could maybe take a step back
I would.
if he gets an
I'd
injury
give
or
you
two.
a.
Hypothetically, if
I
you have
would
to
have
pick a guy,
Donaldson
and he's the
possibly
oldest.
jump into the top 5.
I mean, that's
I-
also just as likely. I'm just saying, like, if we have to pick a guy,
Yeah.
because he's the oldest, I guess. So, and he kind of came out of nowhere in the first place to become this good. So, it's I would agree that there's really no one in the top 10 that clearly like stands out as.
Yeah, the top
someone that-
10
I'm
is
not-
really
I'm-
strong.
I'm not like disagreeing with you guys. I'm just trying to make you guys choose a person.
No, yeah, I
Um,
mean,
It's easier to go, into that like 20 to 50 range, and then say who do you think could make the jump to the first 2 rounds. Like that's an easier question to ask because.
Okay, let's do that. 20 to 50. Who do you think could like jump up?
Like
top
I
15, top 10. Do you
I
think
can
anyone could do that?
I can see, the middle infielders that are here. Like, I mean, they're actually they're in the top 20 already.
Do you
a
think
lot
if
of them.
Giancarlo plays a full season and puts up what like in monster power numbers
Yeah,
and like
Giancarlo easily could.
285, do you think he could be top 10, top 15?
Yeah. Will Myers actually is really interesting. If he puts up close to 30 numbers again, I'm gonna have to put him up in the top in one of the top 2 rounds. That's just.
I'm really interested to see what this list would be next year and your comparison to it.
I do
because-
I'm one. Let me see if I actually have.
Do you have your
last
top
year's-
100 last year?
I think I do. Let me work on getting that up. In the meantime, just if you want to ask me some other question or ask some other
well,
questions.
I'm gonna throw in my pick from that 20 through 50. I think George Springer, if he gets a full year in a solid role, because last year he didn't really start to thrive until he got to
The
leadoff
thing
spot.
is about George Springer that a lot of people like. I recently wrote an article on the
Yeah.
Astros, so
I read it. It was good.
thank you. No, I wasn't trying to get like feedback, but like thank you. No, I have like research on the Astros. George Springer, that was last year was the first time he played a like full season.
Yeah,
And that's what we see. That's what like we can probably look forward to, and like he's still young, and we could look forward to more development. So that's a good pick.
I think you might actually have Andrew McCutchen too high almost, which is sad to say considering.
That's so sad.
Andrew
He might have been top
McCutchen
10.
is second
His
in like the
pick
last
last
couple
year.
months did show signs that he wasn't completely washed up. He does still have like enough power anyway to.
Yeah.
The stolen bases are virtually gone for Andrew McCutchen, which was part of what really drove him in the first round, even at some point in his career. But he definitely does have the raw hitting ability to put himself in the top 50. That's all I got there. He's going to hit in the middle of the lineup and
when you
drive
look at
and score
McCutchen
runs.
from his fantasy standpoint, his defense is what has plummeted the most, which is why he just got moved to right field. But his offense is still halfway decent. So if you're looking at a fantasy standpoint, he's a decent fantasy pick.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty big drop when you're talking
It's a
about
huge,
going from like
it's a huge shot for
he
Andrew
was like a
McCutchen.
second round pick last year.
I haven't had too much like research in Billy Hamilton's numbers. What other than like obviously his speed, what else
Nothing.
makes
There's literally
Billy
nothing
Hamilton
else.
top
But the stolen
100?
bases drive it.
But then like
Nothing
Jared
else.
Dyson. Stolen bases
Draw
drive
Dyson
it.
is Billy
Draw
Hamilton
Dyson
has a
doesn't play
much
every day.
more clear role than Draw Dyson does.
Yeah.
Draw Dyson's
And
a role player. He's gonna go into games to steal bases. Billy Hamilton plays every day to steal bases.
Yeah, and Billy
Oh
Hamilton's
no, I get
numbers
that.
last year.
I'm just wondering the top 100 because that's a little. I feel like that one's a bit high.
I think
Billy Hamilton's
did I
average
did
was a
not
little better
provide
last
any
year.
analysis.
I wouldn't put Billy over like I don't know.
I did actually answer a question about Billy Hamilton recently, and I did do a little bit of research on him to support what I said. Let me see if I can pull that up really quick.
I'll
Let's
take
see.
I'll like consider anything. I'm not saying like I'm for sure right. It's just I think that like if I were to pick between Michael Brantley and Billy Hamilton I'd go with Michael Brantley.
Michael
I take
Brantley
Hamilton
is
in
another one of
second.
those like
Michael
injury guys
Brantley.
that I'm like,
I drafted Michael Brantley last year, and
Or like
he
if
was
I had to.
because his shoulder is so
Really?
blocky.
Oh, I know, but I mean, the thing is, you have to think about when they'd be available. Like Billy Hamilton, I don't know. I don't think Billy Hamilton was taken like early last year, and I don't think he's going to be taken early this year.
He's not a top tier guy. But the thing about speed when it comes to fantasy is that it's a separator. It's not a driving force of your thing, but it can separate you from the competition.
I get
yeah.
that.
If you want to
Well
hear,
said.
I have the thing about Billy Hamilton that I said I was looking up here. In ESPN has their own player rater, which basically takes into account all the categories from last fantasy season, and then it ranks them like based on strictly their performance from last season. Billy Hamilton was ranked 64th among all players, like position players and pitchers, and that was only in 119 games. And almost all of that value, it does show like which stats like drive the value that is assigned to him. It's basically all stolen bases. He's 64th among all players just based on stolen bases in 119
Breaking
games
news.
last year. What up?
Breaking news: 2-time All-Star C.J. Wilson apparently announced his retirement, and he's going to pursue racing.
Racing.
What?
What type
Yeah.
of?
That should be the headline.
He has like his own car dealership. He loves racing. I feel like that's part of the reason he didn't try to come back. He was like focusing on that. So yeah, good for him. All right, now let's get back to this.
that is all. CJ Wilson pursues racing. Now
You
back
made
to
it
the
sound like
show.
breaking news, like someone just signed a massive contract. There was a huge trade.
I
It's
wish.
just-
Dude,
it's
no,
just
breaking
Wilson retired.
breaking
something-
news this time of year is it is what it is. You're not
The
gonna.
only
Yeah.
time someone did that in this podcast was Rudy's dad.
That's a
Oh,
fact.
that's true. That's true. I remember that. We need him. We need more of him in this show.
Need Carl.
He's our reporter on the sidelines. He gets our scoops.
Yeah. Do you guys want to hear?
He's our beat reporter.
Do you guys want to hear the? I just pulled it up. The top 100 rankings I did from last season.
Yeah, let's go with the top 10 and see how it matches up.
Yeah. So this list I have was last updated last year on February 25th. And it was definitely bold. I'm gonna say that right away. Paul Goldschmidt was
It was
number
very
1.
bold.
Bryce Harper was number 2. Josh Donaldson was 3. Mike Trout was 4. Don't kill me, Farbode. Clayton Kershaw was number 5. Aaron
I
Otto
remember
6.
this.
Stanton was 7. McCutchen was 8. Miguel Cabrera was 9. Manny Machado was 10th. Those are the top 10.
Those all make very good sense when you consider what years they're coming off of. I mean, Goldschmidt had a down year. McCutchen had a down year.
My head would be on a stake if I put Mike Trout anything other than number 1 this year.
Even like going into that year, I would say that Mike Trout ranking was probably a little bit low, but I understand like you were trying to make a point.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean,
Yeah.
when you talk about number 4 being insanely low for Mike Trout, it definitely was. It was right after the year where he had like an insane. He was like in top 5 in strikeouts.
He hit 41
in all of
homers
baseball.
last in 2015.
Yeah, that was the year where he made the change to being the big power, and big strikeout guy. And then we were like, whoa, what's going on with Mike Trout?
No, his
It's
strikeouts
obviously
was
great, but like
peaked in 2014, and then they've gone down like gradually
yeah.
every.
Well, I mean, last year
Yeah.
obviously he was a totally different player, and that was he solidified himself.
And
I can do whatever.
the
I want.
Angels
I can
still
hit
suck,
power, I
but
can hit
they
forever,
still, yeah,
whatever.
obviously. And like we're starting to hear the same like. I love how this isn't like fantasy related. I love how around this time of the year you hear the same stories from players. Oh, I'm in the best shape of my life, or like my swing's never been as good.
Or-
And
You
I added
basically
15
have to
pounds.
ignore that entirely.
oh yeah, completely. It's so much fun to watch. I'm like, bro, you just stop.
I mean, it's
But
good.
yeah.
It's the only time you look at that is when you're looking at players coming off of injury. Is if okay, they clearly feel comfortable enough. I'm not gonna say they're in the best shape of their career and they're gonna have like the best year of their career, but I'm gonna say okay, they definitely don't feel like they're hindered by their injury anymore, and that's.
I'm on your
comforting.
top 100 ranking mid-season, and you had it was Trout, Altuve, Harper, Donaldson, Betts, Goldschmidt, Arenado, Bryant, and Machado. Machado and Rizzo.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, you look
It's
at this
like
list.
similar people. It's just like moved around.
Yeah, I mean, some of the other top 10 players that, like, right now, like, Chris Bryant was 26, like, before last season started. Betts was, like, number 30, which is, Betts being at 30 was, like, very high even then.
Oh, and I want to, like, make a quick, like, announcement thing. This is just Ui's, like, rankings. This isn't set in stone. You can have different opinions in him.
I encourage it.
This is not the be-all, end-all.
Yeah, exactly.
I would absolutely 100% love any feedback you guys have. Leave it in these comments. Leave it, like, tweet us, and, like, do anything you want. It's on Reddit too, r/fantasybaseball. You can find the post there.
You said tweet us. What is our Twitter handle?
At
WPB_podcast. I normally save this for the very end of the show, but you know.
It's good to keep reminding people.
It's a special occasion. All right.
We'll just say we'll just say our Twitter handle 15 times.
Yeah,
I listen to Sports Talk Radio, and they say their Twitter handles, like Facebook, whatever.
You know what? We're not like the other guys, which is what sets us apart. Which is why what sets us apart is that we're never prepared, and that's what makes it authentic, and that's why we do it.
Yeah, but we're
still genuine, bro.
Anyway,
we're genuine.
Like,
it's always interesting.
In my personal Twitter account at Stingray417,
oh my god,
on my bio I have. Yes, on my bio I have our website, the link, and I tweet it out. So I'm working. You are doing your part.
You are doing your part 100%. I appreciate it.
I haven't even done that.
See, I'm a good addition because I'm promoting.
Wow. Okay.
Alrighty, let's mob.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that was just kind of a fun thing to look back at. It's fun to compare, like, what things were like a year ago in that landscape.
It's amazing to think about how different things were.
Yeah,
because it doesn't seem different, but then just think about what we were thinking about just certain players and how much they've changed within a year.
Yeah, it seems very different to me. Actually,
that's the great thing about baseball, though. Like any guy can have a down year, any guy can have a career year.
Exactly.
That's true, and you can't. And that's the tricky thing about rankings. You can't just take their stats from last season and say, okay, this is them now. Let's throw it on the paper. You got to look at, their track record. You got to look at a lot of different factors. Like in a lot of cases, you have to look deeper into like sabermetrics and stuff to see the legitimacy of the stats they're putting up. But it is what it is. I could talk about fantasy baseball all day, but I won't because we did have plans to talk about the National League West as part of our Divisions of the Week series. I don't know when the last time we did that was, but we are still doing that. We don't have a ton of time left to talk about it, but we do have a very, very hardcore Dodger fan that has joined us today, so we'll let him take...
Go Blue.
You're a Dodger fan? Bro, I'm going to kick you from... No, I'm kidding.
Like, oh, no.
Do you guys see the video? I got a Dodger hat on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to go...
I'm from LA,
on this NOS conversation, go right ahead and do so. I mean, obviously you can talk about your article a little bit, talk about the Dodgers, and
so I'm kind of bringing it all in, using my perspective as a Dodgers fan, having to know about the NL West. The NL West is very intriguing, but at the end of the day, I still think it's a two-horse race between the Giants and the Dodgers. The Rockies, with the Desmond edition, can make it very interesting, I think. But ultimately, the Rockies, I think, are just going to fall short. Diamondbacks are just totally dysfunctional.
I'm going to ask you this as a baseball fan, not your Dodger fan side.
Yeah.
But try to answer this as a baseball fan. Who do you think wins the division?
Honestly, I think it's the Dodgers, but it's not. I'm not completely confident in that. It's going to be a close race, I think, because the Giants in. But ultimately, I think the Giants have more question marks. Like, their outfield depth is spotty. And if they have, like, say Crawford bounces back and Joe Panic stays healthy, I think they can win the division. But
it's kind of interesting how the Giants just, like, for years, they've had a couple good years out of Romo. They had a couple good years out of Fear the Beard, Brian Wilson. But a lot of the years that they were going into the playoffs, they were Bruce Bochy had to say, yo, we have a closer by committee right now because we have no idea who's going to, like, consistently.
That did not work out very well last year.
So I think with Melanson, it's a lot more hopefully consistent. I don't know unless they have like a closer problem and like fever. And
no, they don't have a close problem like they did last year. 28 blown saves over the year, I think.
That's just bad.
It was bad. I mean, they were the best team heading into the All-Star break, and I think they were the worst team after the All-Star break. So that shows you how much
how impressive they can be.
Yeah, but ultimately, and that was helped by injuries and then obviously the closing situation. But you saw what the Dodgers did last year: 28 guys in the DL, Major League history record. That if most of their guys stay healthy, I think it's gonna be hard to beat them. But you never know with the Giants.
I'm reading your article. What do you think about what's going on with Puig?
I said it from the get-go. We need to see a full, healthy season from him before we can pass full judgment. I liked his role towards the end of the year last year.
They were basically kicking him out of
out
of LA last year at some point. I remember they almost offered him up for like chump change for basically nothing, and then they were like, "No, let's send him down and see if he can like fix his act." And like he came back up in September.
Yeah, and he platooned in right with I believe Tolles or Reddick actually, because Reddick sucked against lefties, as most of the Dodger team did. But he performed solidly. But throughout his career, he took the league by storm, and then had a drop off. And
do you think his ceiling, like the type of player he can be, is a solid player or a star? Like the way he came onto the scene.
I think he's a borderline star. I don't think he can produce at the rate that he did when he came into the league, because guys have clearly discovered his holes. But he started working on plugging those holes up, I guess. He's solid defensively. He's not sailing balls like he used to, although that throw in Colorado last year was amazing.
I'm not trying to make this like NL West talk only about Puig, but I just think I think he's a good player. I think he can, once he like calms down and figures his shit out. I think he can be a very solid player. And he has his like flair. He has his way of playing the game. And a lot of people take exception to it and don't like it. A lot of people love it.
I love it.
Dodger fans love it, obviously. But I think he can be a good player for the Dodgers if he like figures his mind out. He figures his shit out.
And like I said, he's got to be healthy. He had the nagging hamstring last year that threw off his season. So we see a full healthy season. If he has issues in the clubhouse, if he doesn't produce, then I'm fine with trading him or parting ways with him. But let's not pass a judgment based on relatively small sample size when they're muddled by injuries and stuff like that.
How do you think the Rockies are going to do? Like, how do you? Okay, first of all, where are Rudy and Uwe?
I'm here. Hi. You guys were doing great. I didn't really have much to say about Puig. I think he's overrated. That's all.
I don't really have much to say about the Dodgers or the Giants.
Okay,
They're pretty.
I know Uwe has opinions on the Rockies.
I mean, I have plenty to say on the other three teams. They always fascinate me with their involvement.
Okay. Well,
with
the
how
thing
bad
is,
they are.
I know what Rudy's going to say about the Diamondbacks. He just shits on the front office. I want to hear what Uwe says about the Rockies.
All right. It looks like Rudy, you and I are gonna like tag team in here. I guess we're taking the shitty teams in the division. Is that what's happening?
Can I just want to comment? I mean, we're about to talk about the Rockies, but a quick side note about the Diamondbacks. I was playing a couple years ago when Dave Stewart was announced as the new general manager. I had the chance to play a scout team on my travel ball, and Dave Stewart came to one of our games, and he ended up talking, like just spouting to my dad a little bit, not having a conversation, never mentioned my name, but he comes and he goes, "There's a new sheriff in town," and look where he is now. I just thought that was really funny. Looking back on it, he's gone, and he ruined the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, they're not.
I can just, like, you just think of a guy, like there's a new sheriff in town and just gets absolutely destroyed, like.
Oh, man.
God. Anyway,
So apparently
Rockies,
the Rangers. Sorry,
are we talking about the Rockies? What's going on?
No, but I'm reading something. It said apparently John Daniels, the Rangers general manager, just said like they're not in full agreement like with Napoli yet. So I don't know what's going on. All right, let's move on. Rockies.
Yeah. signed Ian Desmond, and I think I said this before, but I feel like it's sort of a waste of Desmond's potential. But you can't have too much depth. Desmond can play all over the diamond for him. It's a good signing. It definitely shows how versatile.
I said it in my opening article when I graded the offseason signings through Trumbo, I believe. It was a good signing because he adjusted to the outfield so well last year that his defensive fit isn't necessarily a concern for a team. If he can drop bombs, especially in Denver, just why not?
Yeah, which is like it's not. I don't think it's going to be as drastic as people think. His ground ball rate is really high, like a lot higher than you'd think it'd be. But he's just athletic enough to like turn a lot of that into higher batting average and things like that. If he hits the ball in the air, he's going to have success. Case in point, the Rockies really don't have anywhere to go because they can't afford to get much worse. It's all a matter of overcoming that mid-season hump where they're giving away a lot of games. Their bullpen hands games away. Their starting pitching is always bad, but it wasn't quite as bad last year.
It was actually really encouraging last year, seeing like the likes of Bettis and Chatwood perform well, and it was surprising to see.
It's just not enough,
their numbers.
If it's not the starting
it's not enough.
That gives the game away, it's the bullpen.
I saw Chatwood's first major league start. I just figured I'd point that out.
I'm proud of you. But what I don't understand about them is that they refuse to spend like any money at all on pitching, either in the bullpen or starting.
They know they have to overpay.
The starting five.
They have to overpay
like really
for
weird relief
pitching.
pitchers every year. And
that's
like
they
signed some
like mediocre.
They signed like Mike Dunn or something from the Marlins to like a 3-year
Boone
deal
Logan.
or something. Like
I
don't know what they're doing.
They lost Boone Logan.
Boone Logan wasn't even that good for them last year, relatively speaking.
When you come,
like they can get all the pieces they want. The fact is their bullpen will never get to the point where it can just be lights out, and especially in that ballpark, it's just too difficult to do it consistently in that environment. Which is why, that being said, their offense is, probably about as good as it can be right now. Like they do, especially like it's not just old guys either. They have young players. They have Trevor Story. They have a catching prospect that's supposed to drop bombs, Tom Murphy. Like these guys are gonna hit. They always do. It's just they can't push it over the hump. They were hovering around 500 in like August, like early August last season. They were trying to make that push, but then it just got to the point where too many games slipped away from them. Basically, when it's out of the control of their offense and their starting pitching.
I just don't understand what their goal is as a front office. They don't really seem to have any clear direction.
There's no goal.
Those are the front offices that just like
they're kind of stuck.
It bother me. It's like it's them, the Diamondbacks. I know Rudy, like I said, hates the Diamondbacks front office. They like. I think to say hate is an understatement. The rants you've gone on about Kevin Towers and just the Diamondbacks front office. It's you have to be there to like.
They're deserved rants, though. I mean,
they're complete. I hate
how incompetent that.
There's no direction. There's incompetence in so many front offices in Major League.
There's incompetence in all the bottom three teams: Rockies, Diamondbacks, and Padres. That's why
I know we're not talking about the American League, but just think about how much better the National League is overall. Because there was a projection. I sent it to Rudy and Uwe. They had like the Red Sox, the Astros, the Indians, and another team in the top four, and then everyone else had like 82 wins. If that, like, obviously that's the Rangers could like get up there, but just think about how much better the National League is in
it's also where all the shit teams are hanging out.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. The National League beats up on
the American League is such a meh league right now. American League isn't a good league. It's not a bad league. It's just a meh league right now.
Yeah.
Well, the American leagues, I guess you could alluding to college football is like the Pac-12. They all beat up on each other, so the top don't look that good. But it's because
I really don't think the National League's top is that much better. I would say both leagues have about 4 contending teams, and I think it's a lot more equal than you think.
Yeah, no, it's going to be perfectly
baseball.
Competitive next year.
At the end of the day, it's baseball. You never know.
Exactly. I agree.
what's really fun about these really shitty teams is looking at on an individual player basis, and you pick out certain players that you're going to watch throughout the season and see their progression, see how they can break out, because they got nothing to lose. They're gonna try these guys out and give them a fair shot at the big leagues. You're not going to see any bullshit that the Nationals do with like Trey Turner and all that, where you're like, we want to bring you up, we want to contend though, even though he was obviously like the best player on their team the last half of the season there. But you know, it's a lot different with these teams. The Padres in particular are the team that I got my eyes on. Manuel Margot and Hunter Renfroe, got my eyes on you guys. I want them to be stars for that team, and they can. They definitely can. They got a lot of other like middle tier prospects that are coming up too, but those guys in particular, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for big production. They're both in my top 250 fantasy rankings. In fact, that's how much I believe in them. But yeah, that's about all. You guys still there? Oh crap. Well, that ain't good. Our Skype call is dropped. I guess I am going to end this podcast on my own. Thank you everybody for joining us today. It was a long podcast, but it was a fun one. We got four of us on this podcast today. Unbelievable stuff. Of course, feedback always very much appreciated. We love to hear your questions, your comments, your concerns, everything. We love to hear it all. Your criticism especially. Yeah, so you can do that in the comments. You can tweet us at WPB_podcast. You can check out our website where we got all our articles, my top 250 fantasy rankings as well, if that's what you're into. Go ahead and check that out. And yeah, all the other links that are relevant will be below as well. Yeah, so that's about it. I can't do the outro because Furbo's not here, but there we go. As always,